Hello buddy, I'm Dutch, and if you like hiking tips, fun adventures, and great gear, hit like and subscribe to join my vlog journey. And if you'd like to be notified when we upload a new video, click that bell as well. All right, let's go. Hello buddy, I'm Dutch, and it's gorgeous today, and I want to get out and I want to talk about and celebrate the US cottage manufacturers, particularly the ones in my industry, which is obviously the outdoor, and if I want to narrow it down to a niche, the hammock industry. There are great ones. They've made this community, they've made this hobby what it is. They brought innovation, and let me tell you, I am far from alone. I am standing on the shoulders of giants, Spear, Jack Sarbetter. They preceded me, and they have built not only businesses but communities, and there are so many things that have been encouraged people to go outside to enhance people's lives. And in this world of over tech, social media, they have brought people together in a much more real way, in around a fire pit. And well, I'm proud for my small piece of it. So I kind of wanted to tell a story of my humble beginning. I actually definitely came from being a anti-vendor. I came from the DIY world. There was a bunch of us on the hammock forums, and although there were people that were just interested in hammock camping, there was a large segment that was really interested in innovation, creating something new. And Grizz was Professor Hammock. I hope he actually sees this, because his friendship has meant a lot to me, and well, he certainly is one of the forefathers of this. And when we would all get together, I would go and I would chime in. If I needed a source for 2-inch Velcro, I could just post on there, hey, you know, what's the best rope? Where can I get this Velcro? What's the best knot I can use? Fabric. Well, everyone would be cluing everybody in on good deals of good fabric. I learned a lot about fabric. And when that started to change was when some people started becoming cottage vendors. And I'm going to tell you, that was a sad day for me. And that meant that the world changed. No longer were people freely sharing their ideas. And I used to love, I'd go and I'd make something, and I couldn't wait to go and post pictures of it and put it onto hammock forums. And then I'd sit there and wait for the replies for it. And well, that was how I got my enjoyment back then. I would bore my family to death by showing them a quilt that I made. All this came from, I was too cheap to buy my own underquilt. So I had to learn how to make my own. Had some knowledge of sewing. My grandmother worked in a sewing factory, as many people's grandmothers did back then. And there were sewing factories dotting the East Coast, I'm sure the entire planet, but I didn't. I only knew my little world then, which is actually where I'm at. This is beautiful Lancaster County. I'm just south of Strasburg. Actually, I grew up not too far from here in Strasburg, and this same creek I've fished back when I was a kid. And my mom was a single mom with a couple kids, so wound up, we lived with my grandmother for a little while, and I learned how to sew. And with that ability, I never really was into making clothing, but I could make gear. And I would go, hold a second. Man, this is a nice trout stream. There's probably some nice rock bass in there too. I'm going back to my youth. I want to go catch some sunnies. So when I would go hunting, I would make, you know, bags that would hang off my belt that could hold my ammo and things like that. And my knowledge of being able to make a sewing machine and construct things, it was a source of entertainment, and also it had a lot of utilitarian purposes. So then I threw out the Appalachian Trail, got a hammock, and back then in 2003, there wasn't many hammocks out on the market. There wasn't hardly anything on the market. Large tarps, not like you have today. If you wanted a large tarp, you were getting a Walmart tarp that's blue and certainly not sil nylon or sil poly or something like that. So it became a great hobby of mine to make gear, make tarps, hammocks, quilts. And as I did, people would say, man, can I buy that? And I thought to myself, man, I just put so much love into this piece of gear. There is no way I am going to go and put it into a box, ship it off somewhere, and never see it again. It was always no. And I made the bridge skin, which is a backpack that converts into a bridge hammock. It was when bridge hammocks were just coming out, and it actually got me my small world of fame of being a DIYer was the bridge skin. And on the bridge skin, I made an ultralight version, and I was showing it off at one of the first Mahas. And what I didn't want to do was put a big heavy carabiner on the end of it. And that's what people did back then. They had carabiners, they had descending rings. That was the hardware you used. So I made the very first Dutch clip to put on the end of it. And it was just a simple aluminum clip that I used to fasten around the tree with my webbing. And that is, you're looking at the very first Dutch clip. To me, this started it all. This is very crude. This is done with a hacksaw, some scrap aluminum, and some files. So I went and I took that to a hang. I took it to Maha, and Tim Weaver from 2QZQ, which he was not 2QZQ back then, went and said, we should make these. Again, I'm anti-vendor. Do not want to become a business. Money corrupts everything, and I do it for what I believe is higher reasons. I really love to show off my gear, and I enjoy the challenge of making something and coming out with something beautiful. Not that that Dutch clip was anything beautiful, but it was just a utility piece on the end of my strap. Well, he insisted, and he said, well, the world needs these, so if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. I said, well, that defeats the whole purpose. You're not gonna go and make my product that I put so much love into it. So I said, I'll tell you what, we can make these and release these onto Hammock forums. Remember, this is before Facebook, so this is the social media in the Hammock world, is hammockforums.net. So we go and we post that we're gonna make these, and within an hour, we sold like 350 pair. I didn't even know 350 people were on Hammock forums, and they were paying us through PayPal, and we didn't even know how to make them. We didn't know what we were going to do, so we shut it off within 1 hour. Well, people kept talking about it, and we spent a couple weeks. We had them cut, and we filed them out by hand. Oh, I used to get hand cramps because we were like doing like a shoe shine boy with some welder's tape so that we could round off the corners, and they would get so hot trying to deburr them on a hand grinder that we'd have to dip them in water. And then we found somebody that would polish them for us, and they polished us for free, which I can't even believe they did that. Second time we went there, they were out of business. I think it's because they had a bad business model, but we got it done, and then we sent them out, and then we posted again. Well, everybody already knew about it, and everybody wanted to buy them again. And again, we turn it on for an hour, we sell a bunch, and we have to turn it off. As these Dutch clips started getting out to the world, their friends wanted them, and we had to look at what we were gonna do. My insistence was that we don't make money out of it. I did not want it to be a business, and I know this to be true. Money corrupts everything. It's always been that way, and it always will be that way. So I had a charity back then that I worked for. It was one of the things that I decided when I hiked the Appalachian Trail, that I was gonna do charity work to kind of pay the world back. And I had been living a long time ago making or selling insurance, particularly long-term care insurance. So I decided that I wanted to pay back the older generation. So if you get Meals on Wheels, and that was the charity that I was donating my time for. If you get Meals on Wheels and those meals are delivered, very often the people are actually charged money. Now it's not much, it's like $5 a day, but people are on fixed incomes. So rather than donate it to Meals on Wheels, I donated all the proceeds to Dutch clips, and I donated it to the people. So instead of getting a bill for $25 for 5 meals, they would get a receipt that says your meals were paid for by Dutch clips. And I'm telling you that made my heart feel, it really filled my heart with a lot of joy to be able to do that. That was exactly what I was looking for. Not giving it to some charity organization that their CEO makes $500,000, $1 million a year. It was actually going to the people that it was meant to help, 100% of it. So we did that for quite a long time. People kept wanting me to produce more things. Meanwhile, I just want to be a DIYer. And I'm realizing that those days, they're coming to an end. People are no longer sharing their ideas, putting them on the internet, giving instructions for how to make it. And there were small cottage vendors, great ones, that were starting up. And I don't mean them disrespect by saying that. It was a smart thing to do, and it just wasn't where I was at the time. So we started putting them on Hammock forums, because Hammock forums wanted a store. And then all the proceeds went to Hammock forums. And to me, that was an equal benefit because Hammock forums, I spent a lot of time on Hammock forums, very well read in those early days, and it was my social group. My friends came from Hammock forums, and the old timers there, man, it was wow. There's a bone. I hope it's like a cow bone. There's the old timers there. I give them a lot of respect. They taught me a lot, and eventually I wound up putting them on DwR&x, and we made the aluminum Dutch clip, and this is the aluminum Dutch clip. It was the very first original one. I wound up putting these little legs on here, keep the webbing from falling out, and it worked fantastic. I enjoyed making them, and people really seemed to enjoy making them, and I like the notoriety. People now knew my name, and that's not something that's ever happened before. I went and I always kept some money aside so I could work on the next project, and I wound up making tarp flies. Well, once again, the tarp flies, they flew off the shelf, and it finally got to a point where I had to be, well, I'm going to have to do something here if I'm going to keep putting products on, and that was really my mission, was to keep coming up with another product, basically to serve the community that I love. And there's the Dutch hook, and then whoopee slings came around. When whoopee slings came around, I thought, oh, well, no one's gonna buy a Dutch clip anymore. It's kind of ironic. So I made the whoopee hook, and I really reveled in being a gear producer. So after, first I had a co-op that I sold the products on, and then finally I wound up getting my own website and building out my own website. It was all new to me. I'm not gonna say I'm not computer savvy, but I'm certainly not savvy on building websites and things of that nature, especially knew nothing back then. Again, when I say that we built this on the shoulders of giants, I really, Ed Spear and Pan from DwR&x, when they talked, man, I listened to them. I took their advice on so many things. I can remember Smee from DwR&x, him saying, the road to hell is paved in custom work. So I still took that to heart, and I still do custom work. Do a lot of custom work, but I sure know what he means. And at some point I decided, well, I'm gonna become a cottage vendor, and I'm gonna make this a business. Very good friend of mine, Adam from Hammock Gear, he went and he suggested that I get into DIY. And he said, you know, I have a problem getting a consistent fabric every time. The ones that I can get are outrageously priced if it's gonna be there the next time. If I go and I get something like out of a discount bin or something, you never know what you're gonna get. I don't know about the quality, and I'm not gonna have something consistent the next time to have the same colors and things like that. So he suggested that I start getting into fabrics. Well, if you are a DIY lover, how awesome is it to be able to make your own fabric? To get down to that level, to go to the mill and say, look, I want it to be this weight. I want it to be this much strength. I want it to hold this much. I want these colors. I want to have this feel. So use this yarn. Use the strongest yarn you can. That is on a DIY level. That is, well, it's just unbelievable. And today, when I look at the fabrics that I've designed and I've made, I get so excited. I show people around the shop and I'm like, come here, feel this. Feel this fabric. Now compare it to this fabric over here. That's because the yarn that I used, it has a texture to it that makes it feel like cotton, even though it's nylon. So there were failures along the way, but being able to make products as a DIYer, and I still, by heart, I really consider myself a DIYer. I go and when I want to make gear, I walk around the shop and I go and I find the perfect piece of hardware. I have so much plastic hardware. When it comes time to designing my bling, and I know I'm known for my bling, but there's so much more than just bling. And I go, not only do I get to make my bling, not only do I get to make some of the coolest products with the greatest function, but I also put this little nuance on it that I would call it after bugs. So if you buy something from me and it is a flying, stingy thing, it holds your tarp up. And if you go and you buy something that holds your tarp down, then it is a parasitic, wormy type thing. Case in point, one of my prettiest pieces of hardware is the Wasp. And it looks like jewelry for your tarp. I am so proud of these things, and it's totally functioning. This whole hoop that you see right here came from the design idea of I need to be able to grab the string that's in between there. which is something that I couldn't do with the flies. So the fact that you have that hoop there, that's how it started. And then I was like, what kind of bug could I make that out of? Originally it became a dragonfly, but then I chopped it down, and after I was done, it became a wasp, which was good because dragonfly was too much to have to write in an email. But I got to keep working on the processes to create better products. And now my Dutch clip, which used to look like this and was bulky, now my Dutch clips shine so much. And see if I can grab one. Yeah, here's the titanium Dutch clip now. When we started cutting titanium, we didn't even know if we could cut it. We didn't know. And man, look at the shine on these things. Look at the quality of this product. I am so proud. These will be here long after I'm gone. People might be using these for currency after I'm gone. And we're able to make that. We're able to buy the machinery. And it's because we are a small business that is doing this stuff, and I can't stress this enough, we are doing it with passion. We get so excited by this stuff. And I know the other cottage vendors out there, I want to call some out. I already mentioned Jack's Are Better. They're still doing it. They now have new owners, but they do it with the exact same passion. Don and Dave, and when you speak to them and you see the passion they have in their products, you know they have it too. Another one, Jason Flowers. Wahala. How can you not talk to Jason Flowers and get a big grin on your face? He's a good old boy, and you just, you want to go eat bacon with him. Some we've lost. Now, most notable, and actually this one really affected me, because I had really gotten close to him, and it was right before he passed away, and it was really sudden. And that is Marty from Wilderness Logics. And these people could all be competitors of mine, and I guess to some degree they are. But when we get together, that's not what it is. And honestly, to me, it is not us competing with each other. It's us supplying the market. And truthfully, I think we are competing with Asia. And if what I do makes us all stronger and the rising tide lifts all the boats, then all the better. Like I said, it's really us competing with Asia. Another one, John Rammel, Trailheads, and well, him and his wife are making some really gorgeous gear. They really push the limits. They know what's important to them. They have total contact with their customers. I don't know if this is true, but the way it feels is that he doesn't make a piece of gear unless he talks to you. You might be able to just go on his website, order it, and it just ships to you. But it feels to me like he's going to get talking to you and say, now, what are you going to use this for? Is this going to be perfect for you? But his passion and his niche is to make things really push the limits on the weight of his products. And he comes out with absolutely fantastic products. Quilts are beautiful. And I see these guys all getting together. I know they're vying for the same customers, but they are, like I said, it's us competing against Asia. So we are really blessed in this industry, in this community, and in this hobby to have these very skilled people putting their hearts into this. I got my start in my basement. It was a long time before I said I was a business. I waited until I would finally quit my job. It probably took me 2.5, 3 years. And other than buy myself a piece of gear or something like that, all the money always just stayed in the business. Truthfully, it still really does. So many of these shops are in people's basements, maybe a barn, something of that nature. And it really feels organic, and it really feels like we have something that's really beautiful. I know it's probably fleeting. I know it's probably not gonna be forever. Big business comes and messes everything up eventually. But the way it is now and today, I feel like we really got something special. And I hope everybody in this community takes a moment and realizes the dedication that these people have put into it to make these goods. We're making them right here in America. And when they give a donation to a raffle, they purchase those materials. They sat up late at night after the kids go to bed to sew that, to just give it away so that people can have a good time at a hang. Because when you go to these hangs, you see that is what it's about. And it's community. It's sitting around a fire, eating good food. So thank your local cottage vendor. And it is so tough to be a small business these days. I'm under the same regulations as a big corporation. The city just came in. Right now we're having it saw cut so we can add an 8-foot sidewalk, because for some reason my little shop needs 8 foot sidewalk, and it's costing me, well, a lot of money. And I deal with the workman's comp, the insurance, and the hiring processes that you have to go through it. So there are some companies that their business model is not to be a US manufacturer. And it always saddens me when you see somebody that sends their products to be manufactured over. China's an obvious one. There's Vietnam, there's Cambodia. The average wage in Cambodia is $1 an hour. And you know that they are not doing that for the love of the product, the love of the industry. They're doing that for the dollar bill. They can say it's for other reasons. They can say it's to bring a cost-effective product to market, but when have you ever heard of any company in any industry move their manufacturing overseas and then drop their price so that the consumer can really do it? You know where all the profits go to? They do it because those profits go into their pocket. So it always saddens me to see a cottage vendor. There's been a couple that have done it recently, and there's some that have been staunch in not doing it. Actually, I haven't heard for a couple years. They've probably grown since then, but there are over 100 people. Here's the thing, is gear is different when it's made by somebody that has the love for making gear, that uses the gear. When I go to these hangs, I go and I see Karen and John from Trailheads, and they're sleeping in the hammocks that they proudly made for themselves, and they're very proud to see their gear being used by their customers. So we are so fortunate in today's day and age, in the high tech of where everything is so disposable. You buy a shirt, it costs $5. When it tears, and they don't hold up, the collars stretch, you get a miscellaneous hole somewhere in the middle of it. It's because these markets have sent out to the lowest bidder that are sometimes using unethical labor practices, and particularly in the textile world. There used to be sewing factories. My grandmother worked in a sewing factory, and along with, it seemed like every blue-haired lady back in the 80s worked in a sewing factory, and they fed their families with it. And those all have shut down one by one. It's amazing that I'm in the textile industry here in America, because there isn't much of a textile industry here in America. And when they close, you lose everything else. The mills, the dye places. America used to produce 60% of the manufactured goods in the world not that long ago. Unfortunately, our leaders sold us out because big business keeps people in power that helps big business, and they've shipped our jobs overseas. The public has welcomed it because it's important for them to have $5 shirts. You used to wear your Sunday best and you had like one or two outfits that were really nice, and nowadays you just click on Amazon and get another one delivered to you for $12. It all comes at a cost. When these jobs go away, they never come back, and we can't all really be in the service industry. We are gonna have to make things again. When I see people of other countries, I think of Little Shop of Hammocks with James Jackson. I've never met him, but I've had many conversations with him. Seems like a great guy. And he's up there in Canada, he's making his goods, and when he ships them to America, I think that is awesome. He is doing exactly what I'm doing, and I ship to other countries. But that is different when a person from America goes and says, hey, I want to produce a goods, but I'm going to produce it overseas, but I'm still going to use the American market to buy it. And well, that's just not the same. I know we have many things that the camera that I'm producing this on wasn't made in America. My phone, people always use the phone as an example. But if you want those things to happen, where we become the manufacturing, you have to bring the first piece home. So if enough people are doing the textile industry here in America, then you're gonna start seeing fabric mills coming up and innovation. And I believe that we innovate better than anybody. And you don't see those type of innovations coming from people from overseas and then exporting it to here. You see the innovation, very often it's copied from the cottage industry. You look at what some of these companies have done, and it is, they've improved it because they copied Cottage Vendors and had it made overseas. But when the cottage vendor no longer can produce because they can't They can't compete with somebody that's making $1 an hour when I have to pay more than that for just benefit. Now, don't even mind the salaries, which are, you know, $20 these days, but that doesn't even come close to it. You have workman's comp, you have vacation days, you have the insurance and everything that's involved in it, that if you're going to employ somebody, the overhead that's involved is, it's not just hourly salaries. So when they no longer can produce that, then I'm fearful the innovation stops, because there's nobody over there that has the love for hiking, that is going to put the passion into making gear to produce like we've already done. And if you really look around and you really know this industry, and if you've seen this industry forming, that is how it happened. It happened because hikers started making hiking gear. And I love being a hiker, making hiking gear. I can't think of anything else that I would want to do than what I'm doing right now. So this is not to say, hey, those people are wrong, and everybody has their point of view. But what I am saying is support your cottage vendors, the ones that are really putting the sweat equity into making things that actually improve our hiking experience, our outdoor experience, get us out with our families, get us out with our friends. Those are the times that are very memorable. And just getting out and adventuring, whatever that adventure is. There's great bike packing manufacturers that go and make different bike bags and things like that. So whatever your adventure is, the small cottage vendors are really the heart and soul of this. And that's why I'm so proud to be part of the community. And well, I'm going to proudly say I'm a small cottage vendor. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thanks for joining me on that adventure. And be sure to check out some other playlists. And of course, check out DwR&x for some of the greatest hiking gear on the planet. As always, thank you, everybody.